You've been told lies. Since you were a child, you heard stories that women are naturally gentle, kind, and selfless. That love is something pure, holy, and healing. That one day, the right woman will come along and make your life complete. But what if that idea was never true? What if Nietzsche, the German philosopher, saw through this fantasy over a century ago? What if the truth about women isn't just difficult? It's something that deeply challenges the way most modern men see the world and themselves. Nietzsche didn't hate women. What he hated were the illusions men created about them. He hated how men turned women into symbols, either saints or monsters, but never saw them as real people. Men believe they love women, but often it's not love at all. It's emotional dependency dressed up as virtue. It's not her you love. It's the way she makes you feel seen, wanted, valuable. She becomes your source of identity, your escape. From pain, your reason to exist. And deep down, she knows it. Why do so many men crumble when a woman leaves? Why does her rejection feel like a personal failure, like a loss of worth? It's because men give women too much power they hand over. Their sense of self, their confidence, their emotional safety. They make her their mirror. And when she walks away, that mirror shatters. And all that's left is the empty space they were trying to avoid all along. Nietzsche warned, when you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. But most men don't want to look at the abyss inside themselves. They'd rather look at a woman who makes them feel better about it. Here's the brutal truth. Women are not your saviors. They're not your personal healers, moral guides, or rewards for being a nice guy. They are individuals navigating their own lives, playing a game that's older than civilization, a game of emotional intelligence, survival, and influence. While men were building cities and empires, women were mastering the invisible world-reading emotions, navigating power, understanding people deeply. Not because they're manipulative by nature, but because history forced them to survive in a world where open power wasn't always available to them. So they learned subtle power. And most men still don't see it. You think you love her. But what you really love is the feeling of being chosen, of being needed. That's not love, that's addiction. And like all addicts, you'll lie to yourself, lower your standards, and do whatever it takes just to keep that feeling alive. Nietzsche saw it clearly. The desire to be loved is one of the most arrogant wishes of all. And yet men are still down on their knees, begging for affection, calling it devotion. But here's a question that changes everything. What if she's not your blessing, but your test? A test most men fail, not because women are cruel, but because men are unwilling to see clearly. Let's destroy one of the most powerful myths, the myth of female innocence. That soft voice, that vulnerable look, that gentle touch you call it purity. Nietzsche called it a form of power. While men are out here flexing muscles, status, and wealth, women are setting the rules in ways that aren't obvious. They don't need to fight for dominance. They invite you to fight for them. In doing so, they control the terms without ever appearing forceful. Think about it. Who sets the pace of intimacy? Who decides how deep the connection goes? Who can destroy you emotionally with just one cold glance? You call her emotional. Nature calls her strategic. And here's the thing, her empathy, her emotional sensitivity, it's not weakness, it's a radar. It tells her exactly what you want, what you're afraid of, and what buttons to press. While you're busy protecting her, she's studying you. Nietzsche warned, in love and in revenge, women are more barbaric than men. That doesn't mean women are cruel. It means they play the emotional game at a deeper level. They aren't weaker, they're sharper. Their tenderness isn't softness, it's strength shaped to fit a different kind of battlefield. The truth is, you are never in control. Not when you bought the dinner. Not when you offered to provide. Not even when she whispered, "I need you because I need you," isn't always about surrender. It's often negotiation. And most men, whether they know it or not, have been negotiating with their own fantasies. They believe her tears mean she's broken. They don't. They mean she's expressing. They think her submission means they've won. It doesn't. It means she's making a choice based on her own criteria. Nietzsche once said, "Everything about woman has one solution: pregnancy." It's easy to misunderstand this as something offensive, but his point was more profound. He meant that biology is strategy. Women are biologically designed for survival, and their emotions, behaviors, and instincts reflect that. Men who ignore this reality are not losing to women, they're losing to their own ignorance. So what can men do? The modern idea says that showing emotion makes you strong. Nietzsche would have laughed. Real strength isn't about spilling your feelings everywhere. It's about knowing the game and playing it consciously. Women don't respect emotional chaos. They respect emotional control. A man who shares enough to create connection, but keeps himself grounded, earns respect. The man who falls apart earns pity. That's the truth psychology often avoids. When a woman pulls away, stays silent, gets jealous, those aren't mood swings. They're tests. Ancient tests designed to filter the strong from the weak. The man who panics and chases fails. The man who remains calm and centered passes. Nietzsche knew this dance. He wrote that women's strength is in appearing weak while actually being strong. Modern men misunderstand this completely because they were raised on romantic movies and fairy tales. They think being persistent shows love. It doesn't. It shows neediness. And nothing kills desire faster than neediness. Once a man understands this, something shifts. He stops reacting to her moods. He stops making her silence mean something about him. And when that happens, the entire power dynamic changes, not through dominance, but through grounded self-awareness. This is what Nietzsche really meant about women. They are not your rescue story. They are your mirror. If you make a woman your purpose, you've already lost. If you make mastering yourself your purpose, then you win not by chasing love, but by earning it through who you've become. The dating world is filled with power struggles that most men don't even see. Nietzsche predicted this. While men were getting softer, women were getting sharper. While men focused on comfort, women kept evolving emotionally. Women notice when you're insecure. They notice when your confidence is fake. They sense power shifts instantly. And every romantic interaction is actually a negotiation. When she asks, "What are you thinking?" she's not just making conversation, she's checking how emotionally stable you are. When she withdraws after a fight, she's not being petty. She's showing that her affection is valuable, and it's not free. Nietzsche saw that women understand the value of scarcity better than most economists. They know that limited attention creates desire, and most men give away their autonomy trying to win it back. They call it love, but it's really emotional debt. Here's another brutal truth. Women don't stay attracted to men who rely on them for purpose. The moment a woman becomes your emotional center, you become predictable, and predictability kills attraction. This is why Nietzsche said the man of wisdom must be able to love his enemies and hate his friends, because true power is being emotionally self-reliant. Modern psychology talks about healthy relationships, but nature talks about survival. Real connection requires strength, not dependency. Most men swing too far in either direction. They become too aggressive, trying to control, or too soft, trying to please. The man who can hold both the ability to care and the ability to walk away is the one who wins. Nice guys aren't really nice. They're strategic. They give and give, but always expect something back. That's not kindness. It's a hidden contract. Women sense this. That's why genuine confidence is attractive, and fake niceness pushes people away. The truth is, modern men are confused. They've lost touch with real masculinity. They either act like bullies or become overly apologetic. Neither is real. Nietzsche's answer? Become a man who's both powerful and kind, both grounded and open. Not to impress, but because that's who you truly are. Women don't want perfection. They want truth. They want a man who's real flawed, but growing, strong, but compassionate. The sad part is, most men are too afraid of being rejected to show their real selves. They either pretend to be alpha or act overly agreeable. Both are fake. Nietzsche called this living beneath yourself. It's the worst thing you can do to your own potential. The biggest thing women are watching isn't your car or your bank account. It's your consistency. Do your actions match your words? Are you aligned with yourself? That inner congruence matters more than any dating trick or polished speech. Women have a sixth sense for men who aren't living in truth. And when they spot it, they leave no matter how charming you act. But here's the truth no one ever dared to whisper into your ears. You don't become powerful by trying to win others. You become powerful by becoming unshakably grounded in yourself. The world has convinced you that love, especially romantic love, is the highest pursuit. But Nietzsche would challenge that. He'd ask, what if the highest pursuit isn't love, but becoming? Becoming who you are, without apology. Becoming someone so deeply aligned with his inner truth that even love bends in his direction. Not because he demands it, but because he no longer needs it to feel alive. Think about this. We live in an age where masculinity is either mocked or misunderstood. On one side, you're told to be soft, sensitive, agreeable. On the other, you're told to dominate, to control, to be alpha. But neither of these are true strength. True masculinity, the kind that transcends trends, is not found in posturing or pleasing. It's found in clarity, in stillness, in purpose. It's in the man who doesn't need to shout to be heard, who doesn't collapse when tested, who doesn't rely on chaos to feel needed. And that's exactly why so many modern relationships feel hollow. Because both people are pretending. The man is pretending to be strong while terrified inside. The woman is pretending to be happy while constantly testing him for authenticity. And neither of them truly meet. Not because they can't, but because neither of them have faced themselves. They're performing for each other instead of being with each other. That's not love. That's mutual illusion. Most men enter relationships to escape themselves. They think, if I can just find the right woman, then I'll feel okay. Then I'll feel like I matter. But that kind of love always ends in loss, because you've handed your power to someone else. When she pulls away, so does your identity. When she's distant, your whole world falls apart. Why? Because you built your emotional home inside her. And now she holds the key. Nietzsche warned about this. He saw how easy it was for men to lose their way, not through failure, but through comfort, through depending on others to do the hard work of meaning-making. He believed a man must carry the weight of his own existence, must face the storm inside him without reaching for someone else to make it stop. That's the beginning of strength. That's the path of self-overcoming. And this path is not about being cold or distant. It's about being real. Most men are emotionally dishonest, not because they're liars, but because they've never taken the time to understand their own hearts. They've either repressed their emotions to appear strong or spilled them everywhere to feel seen. Both are out of balance. True emotional strength is this: the ability to feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. The ability to be vulnerable without being disparate. The ability to express without expectation. You want to be respected by a woman? Then stop trying to impress her. Stop trying to get a reaction, a compliment, a reward. She can feel it. The smallest emotional need. She picks it up like a scent. And once she feels you need her approval to feel whole, her respect begins to fade. Not because she's cruel, but because nature wired her that way. She's drawn to strength, to self-possession, to the man who stands firm even when she storms, even when she doubts him, even when she pushes every button. And let's be honest, she will test you. Not because she's toxic, but because that's how the feminine moves. It tests the masculine to find out if it's real, if it's rooted, if it can be trusted. And the man who gets angry, who argues, who becomes emotionally reactive, he fails. But the man who stays calm, who stays present, who doesn't waver, he earns not just attraction, but admiration. There comes a moment in every man's life where he must look in the mirror and ask, who am I when no one is watching? Not who he performs as, not who he hopes others see, but who he truly is, stripped of roles, stripped of masks, stripped of need. And for most, that moment doesn't come until something breaks, a relationship ends, a dream collapses, a woman walks away. And in that silence, a terrifying question echoes. Was any of it ever real? The truth? Most men don't build a self. They build a performance, layer upon layer of behavior designed to attract, to be liked, to be chosen. They learn how to text, back the right way, how to appear confident, how to speak just enough truth to be interesting, without ever becoming vulnerable. And while the world might reward this act for a time, women, real women, will see through it eventually. And when they do, the performance collapses. Not because she was too demanding, but because your foundation was never solid to begin with. This is why self-respect is everything. Not surface-level ego, not arrogance masked as confidence, but deep, unwavering respect for your own soul. The kind of respect that says, I don't beg, I don't perform, I don't chase. I build, I protect, I lead. And that kind of respect doesn't come from books or videos or dating advice. It comes from fire, from suffering, from discipline, from doing hard things when no one's applauding, from choosing purpose over pleasure, truth over comfort. A man who respects himself moves differently. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't seek to be understood by everyone. He doesn't fear rejection because he knows what he stands for. And ironically, that's the man women are drawn to most, not because he's trying to attract them, but because he's finally become someone worthy of attraction. Most modern men confuse attraction with manipulation. They learn tricks, lines, strategies, how to seem desirable without ever becoming desirable. But you can't fake frequency. You can't fake depth. You can't fake groundedness. You might get a woman's attention through tactics, but you'll never keep her respect without substance. Women are wired for survival. They're not just looking for surface qualities. They're scanning you on an emotional and energetic level. They notice the tension in your body, the fear in your eyes, the need in your tone. You can't hide that dot, so the question becomes, how do you become a man who doesn't need to hide? Start by facing the parts of yourself you've avoided, the insecurity, the anger, the need for control, the need to be wanted. Sit with it. Don't numb it. Don't outrun it. Let it speak. Because everything you suppress becomes something she eventually feels. And she will always respond, not to the words you say, but to the energy you carry. That's the unspoken language of intimacy. If your presence says, I need you to like me, she'll test you. If your presence says, I know who I am, and I choose you, but I don't need you, she'll respect you. The masculine doesn't beg for space. It creates it. It doesn't ask for permission. It walks with purpose. That's not toxicity. That's polarity. And without polarity, relationships lose their spark. They become flat, safe, predictable. But real love isn't safe. It's sacred. And the sacred always demands something of you. Here's what no one tells you. Masculine energy is not about being loud, dominant, or controlling. It's about holding structure, holding space, holding yourself together when everything around you tries to pull you apart. The real man is not the one who never feels pain. He's the one who learns how to contain it, to feel it fully, process it privately, and return to the world with calm clarity. Not to hide, but to hold. That's emotional discipline. And most men have never developed it because they've never been taught how. They were taught to repress or explode, to stay silent or lash out. But in between those extremes is mastery. The man who can say, "I'm hurting, but I won't act from that pain." That man is rare. That man is dangerous in the best way, because he cannot be controlled. Not by women, not by society, not even by his own fears. And in a world where everyone is reacting, he becomes the anchor, steady, present, unmoved. That's the kind of man Nietzsche spoke of. The man who rises above herd morality. The man who doesn't follow the crowd, who doesn't reduce himself to comfort, validation, or the false promises of an easy life. The man who suffers intentionally to become something greater, not bitter, not hardened. A transformed dot. So stop asking, "How do I get her to stay?" Ask instead, "What version of myself is she meeting?" Because women mirror you. If she's cold, ask yourself where you've gone emotionally numb. If she's testing you, ask yourself where you've abandoned your own frame. If she's lost interest, ask yourself whether you've become stagnant, predictable, comfortable. Women don't want perfection. They want presence. They want to feel that the man across from them is alive, growing, aware. That's not about looks or status. It's about aliveness. And the more deeply you embody that, the more naturally intimacy begins to deepen. But here's the key. You don't do this for her. You do it for you. Because when you grow only to win her back, you're still giving her your power. You're saying, "I'll become better if it brings her closer." That's not evolution. That's negotiation. But when you grow because it's who you're meant to be, when your progress is non-negotiable, when your discipline becomes devotion, you stop being a boy asking for love, and you become a man radiating worth. And women feel it, all of it, the posture, the energy, the direction. That's what makes her want to walk beside you. Not because you begged her to, not because you earned it with favors, but because you created a life, a mission that's worth joining. So build that life. Create it brick by brick. Rise every day with a fire in your chest that says, "This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And this is where I'm going." Speak less. Mean more. Move with precision. Lead with vision. And love not as need, but as gift. You don't need every woman to want you. You need one woman to respect you, truly, deeply, without hesitation. And that only happens when you first respect yourself. Enough to walk away from anything that insults your soul. That includes people. That includes comfort. That includes the weaker version of yourself who's still scared of being alone. Because here's the truth. No one wants to admit. Aloneness is the furnace of transformation. When there's no one to perform for, you finally meet yourself. And when you meet yourself, not the image, not the brand, not the mask, you finally become worthy of being met by someone else. Fully, honestly, freely. So many men today think relationships are about balance, about equality. And yes, on a moral level, that matters. But in nature, balance doesn't mean sameness. It means polarity. Masculine and feminine energies are not supposed to be mirrors of each other. They're meant to be magnets, different but complementary. The more a man embraces his groundedness, his mission, his edge, the more the feminine feels safe to soften, to open, to surrender. But when a man becomes unsure, always seeking reassurance, always adapting himself to what he thinks she wants, she closes, slowly, quietly, and then one day she's just gone. You ask, what did I do wrong? It wasn't what you did. It was what you didn't become. Nietzsche believed that life is not meant to be lived passively. You're not here to wait for meaning. You're here to create it, and that includes relationships. A man doesn't find meaning through a woman. He brings meaning into the relationship through who he is, through the values he lives by, through the direction he's walking. That's what makes him magnetic. That's what makes a woman want to follow him, trust him, build with him. But a man with no vision, no purpose, no clarity, he becomes just another boy pretending to be a man, hoping love will turn him into something complete. It won't. Love doesn't complete you. Love meets you once you've done the work of completing yourself. So ask yourself honestly, who are you without her? Without validation? Without applause? If the answer is, I don't know, then that's where your work begins. Not with learning how to get women, but learning how to get you, to understand, build, and master yourself. That's the fire she's drawn to. Not because you're manipulating her, but because you're finally radiating something real. So what's the way forward? Stop chasing tactics. Start chasing growth. Become the kind of man who is so deeply focused on his purpose that relationships become a choice, not a need. That's what Nietzsche meant by become who you are. Stop trying to be something for others. Start becoming everything you are meant to be. Women don't want men who live for women. They want men who live for something greater. Artists, builders, thinkers, creators. Men who are too busy becoming to be desperate. That's the irony. The more you grow, the more attractive you become without even trying. Because you're not chasing love. You're attracting it through self-mastery. Nietzsche said, you must become a flame, because only then will you stop chasing butterflies and start attracting moths to your fire. You want better love? Don't search harder. Evolve deeper. Because in the end, you don't attract who you want. You attract who you are. If this message stirred something in you, if it made you uncomfortable, challenged your beliefs, or helped you see things more clearly, don't let it end here. Growth starts where comfort ends. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop living for validation and start living for truth? If you're on a path to becoming the man you are always meant to be, this channel is your companion. We don't chase trends. We chase transformation. Subscribe if you're ready to go deeper, not just into philosophy or relationships, but into yourself. And if you found value in this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not to preach, but to awaken. Because the world doesn't need more agreeable men. It needs more awakened ones. This is not the end. It's the beginning of who you could become. So don't just watch, become.